Hi, I'm Dalveen and I'm studying Spanish and Linguistics. If you've been invited to interview at Oxford, congratulations. It's a huge achievement and you should feel very, very proud of yourselves. You might also be feeling a bit nervous, which is completely natural. There are lots of myths about interviews at Oxford, but really, they're just conversations about your chosen subject with someone who knows lots about it. We asked some Oxford tutors about interviews. Let's see what they had to say.
Oxford holds interviews really to give applicants the chance to show us what they can do beyond what's on the UCAS form. The interview is a lot like the tutorial that's really at the centre of Oxford teaching. So we get a chance to see how you would learn and respond to that kind of environment. It's really about offering you the chance to think independently and show us your potential for responding to new and exciting ideas.
Interviews are an important part of the selection process at Oxford, helping us to make offers to students that have the most potential to succeed on the course. In some sense, they act like practice tutorials, the main method by which you were taught at Oxford. In a typical tutorial, we will work through tricky problems together to try to find a solution, much like we will do in your interview.
All of the applicants we get to Oxford are brilliant. So we need more information than we can possibly glean from the UCAS application form that everyone sends in, because we need to work out from those who've applied whether or not they would be well suited to the way we teach in Oxford. We teach in quite an unusual way in very small tutorial groups, and the interview is therefore an audition for that style of teaching.
They are truly not designed to be terrifying or daunting, and we do everything we can to make you feel at your ease. The interview is just one part of a bigger application process. We have lots of bits of information about you and we're trying to build up a bigger picture. So don't let yourselves get too nervous. And fundamentally, I know it's hard, but try and enjoy the process. It's actually a really nice opportunity to talk about the things that interest you and that interest us.
What do I look for in an applicant? Curiosity. I know you can pass exams. Everybody that comes for interviews passes exams. I've got to teach you for 4 years. So I want to teach people who want to learn. And that's what I'm looking for.
We're looking for a degree of energy. We want to get this sense that you're motivated to take on this degree. So we're looking for you to light up, to enjoy yourself, and also to speak for yourself. We're interested in you and your energy and what you would like to bring to the conversations.
What we're looking for is flexibility of thinking. We're looking to discover your kind of analytical abilities. We're looking to see how you respond to new pieces of evidence. We're looking to see how you think when confronted with new ways of thinking about a problem. Do listen really carefully to our questions. Sometimes it's very difficult when you're really nervous to listen carefully because you're sort of flooded with all these ideas and these things that you want to tell us about and you're feeling very anxious. But do try and take the time just to listen carefully to what you're being asked so that you're responding to what we're asking you.
So what I look for above all in a candidate is a combination of curiosity and dedication. I want you to be so curious about your reading that you don't mind being dedicated to it, that to you it's a pleasure to read a lot.
It's not a memory exercise. We're not interested in how many facts you can remember. Do have a reread of the written work that you've submitted before the interviews, because that is a useful thing to be able to talk about.
By all means, do some reading or watch some lectures, but try and see a variety of perspectives. But ultimately, we want to get the best possible performance out of our interviewees.
Don't feel like you need to read hundreds of texts. I would so much rather somebody just have read 1 or 2 texts but really thought about them. It can be really useful too to practice talking to people about your reading, so explaining what you thought about texts and why.
It's also a good idea to revise the material you've learnt so far at school or sixth form and to try out some practice questions. The very best of luck, and hopefully I'll see you around Oxford in the near future.
We hope that makes it all seem a bit less daunting. So, we know that interviews this year are going to be a bit different. You'll still usually be interviewed by 2 tutors in your subject, but This year, you'll be talking to them via a video link. This is Ian from the university's admissions operations team, who've been working out the best technology to use for this year's interviews. Hi Ian, so if I was applying this year, what can I expect and how will it all work?
Hi Dalveen. So, all interviews will be taking place remotely this year using Microsoft Teams. You don't need to have a Microsoft account for this, but you will need to use a computer that either has Teams installed or can access Teams on the internet. The computer will also need a microphone, speakers, and webcam. If you have any problems getting hold of the right technology, talk to your school, and if you still aren't able to access it, then contact the college you're being interviewed by.
Great, do I need anything else?
You should have paper and pens to take notes, and in all interviews you may be asked to hold some paper-based workings up to the camera. It's also a good idea to have a copy of your personal statement and any written work you've submitted, because you might be asked about these. You could be asked to read a passage or article before your interview, which will be sent to you by email. If so, then make sure you have a quiet space to read it before your interview, same as if you were taking an exam. Your college will explain this to you beforehand. Just a reminder here that, as your interview invitation makes clear, you must not record these interviews or share any of their content verbally or otherwise, including any pre-interview reading tasks.
Okay, but do I need anything else on the technical side?
For Tier 2 subjects, yes. You'll need to be able to access the Miro website or app at miro.com. This lets you use a virtual whiteboard which is partially interactive. You should access this on the same device you're using to access Microsoft Teams. We recommend that you create a Miro account so you can practice using a whiteboard. This is free to do. It isn't essential if you're using the web version, but you will need to do this anyway if you're planning on using the Miro app during your interview. You'll be sent a link to a specific Miro whiteboard for your interview, and during the interview, your interviewers might show you a document by sharing their screen or pasting it into the Miro whiteboard, or by holding something up to the camera. Your interviewers might also use the Miro whiteboard themselves to write out mathematical notation, draw sketches, annotate diagrams or text, or to add text. You may be asked to add basic markings using the draw tool to highlight, point to, or annotate an existing image or text, or to add text using the text tool. You won't be asked to write out complex mathematical notation. You might also be asked to show any rough workings using your own webcam.
Thanks, that makes sense. But how will I be invited to interviews?
For each interview, you'll be sent a separate calendar invitation containing a link that will take you to the virtual interview lobby. You'll then be accepted into the call and your interview will begin.
And will there be more than one interview?
You are quite likely to have more than one interview. You might also be interviewed by more than one college. For some subjects, you'll be invited to interview at more than one college before your interviews have started. In other subjects, you might have initial interviews at your first college, and then you might be invited to additional interviews at another college after these have taken place. We aim to give everyone a minimum of 24 hours notice of these additional interviews. You can find out more by looking at the interview timetable on our website, which has the interview dates for each course.
And what if the technology goes wrong or the internet disconnects?
Above all, don't worry. We know these things can sometimes happen and your interviewers will understand. We do recommend that you and your school, if that's where you're having your interview, test the technology beforehand to make sure it works and that you're comfortable with it. If technical problems mean that you can't use the technology, your interviewers may instead ask you to use more basic methods, such as holding paper-based workings up to the camera. Remember, your interviewers will want you to do well and be able to see your potential. If the technology goes wrong or the connection is bad, make sure you tell your interviewers so they're aware. If the interview can't proceed, then don't worry, the college will rearrange it as soon as they can.
Thanks so much, Ian. We hope the technical side of things makes sense to you now. But there are some other things you might like to think about before your interview. Some of these are very practical. Talk to school if your interview is taking place there and make sure you know where it will be. Make sure this is a quiet place. If it's at school, they'll be able to help with this, but if it's at home, you'll need to think in advance. Wear headphones if you're likely to be distracted by background noises. If there are any adjustments you need because of a disability, make sure whoever has invited you to interview knows about these. Have a drink of water to hand. ideally in a bottle that can't spill. Once you're in the interview, check that your head isn't cut off by your camera and that you can look directly at the screen. And please don't record this interview. It's meant to be a private conversation. In terms of the questions you might be asked, have a copy of a personal statement and any written work you've submitted, just in case you want to refer to them. Remind yourself about the answers you gave in any admissions tests. And don't worry if you don't know an answer immediately. See if you can work your way through it out loud. This helps the tutor see how you think. Remember, in most subjects, there's often no right or wrong answer. Practice by talking to someone, anyone, even your dog, about your subject. Remind yourself why you wanted to study it in the first place. Don't try and Google any answers during your interview. Aside from the fact that this is cheating, an interview is like a conversation and you'll be very obvious if you zone out or are distracted. More than anything, try not to worry too much and just be yourself. Remember, if you're being interviewed, it means you're a strong contender. You just have to show the tutors how awesome you are. You can find out more information and advice about all aspects of interviews, including some detailed subject-specific information about the sort of questions you might be asked, on our website. Good luck, and we hope you find the experience interesting and maybe even enjoyable.